Hi there. Last night I woke up and I just thought to myself, if I wasn't so much of a coward, I could really just do with taking my own life at this stage. Really. Um, when I consider my present situation and what has happened to me in the past and the future, which is based on an assessment of present situation, and I know that this enters into CBT with core beliefs, and you should challenge core beliefs. And as I said on this channel, that things change. But then and I considered my own predicament, my own problem, which of course, and as they all say, compare yourself to other people's problems, and you'll find your problems are not that great, which is actually true enough. I mean, there's people out there who have a much worse present situation than I have, a much worse past, and pretty much a terrible future awaits them. I mean, you can just see it, based on current problems that they have, not only in their family but in their community, in their country, even. So there's people that are worse off. I don't know if it makes much difference to say that. I'm not sure. Perhaps it does. I think it does, but I'm not sure that it's a very good thing to think, really, a moral thing. Because when you contemplate the universal sorrow of mankind, it does seem to me that our positive existence, the positive cosmos, even the positive world that we live in, this existence, this life, within this world, we are just fodder. I mean, I think it was Stefan Hoyer who just said if you listen quietly to the world, all you can hear is this munching sound, which is basically creatures munching on each other in a hierarchy of food chain. Energy comes from the sun and is converted into bioenergy, which ends up in the liver of a predator. And that's basically it. We are just fodder. And look at the different types of fodder that we actually are. I mean, for a start, well, we all know we're cannon fodder. I mean, the reason, we're cannon fodder in the sense that if there is a war, we all just go to war and die. But we're also cannon fodder, it seems to me, because we are the stuff of blackmail. I mean, if the Russians fire nuclear weapons and we fire them back, there's going to be, we're all going to die. So in that sense, it's like we're being used as blackmail pawns, really. You kill my population and I'll kill your population. So in this conversation, in this dialectic, we are just the cannon fodder. Nobody asks us whether we want to live or die. They just assume that we want to live, and so that then they can blackmail the government of another country into saying that we can end the lives of your population if you end the lives of our population. I mean, there's still 40,000 plus nuclear weapons in the world. I mean, never mind global warming. The big global warming offers a major nuclear war, and that hasn't gone away. So we are cannon fodder. We are potentially fodder for a nuclear exchange. And the other big thing is we are psychic fodder. There are people that are needy. There are people that are sucking our energy out of us, sucking our financial resources, sucking our emotional resources out of us. And they are being, of course, preyed on or fed on by psychic energies, unfortunately. So it isn't really the person's fault. It's that they have something attached to them, which is feeding off all of us via the person that has needs, and their needs are not being met. So that makes their neediness even worse, which of course makes the psychic energy that they feed off us even greater. So there's all that going on in various different forms. There's too many forms to list here. And then we're profit fodder. I mean, basically, we all just exist for someone to make money out of us, and for someone to have power over us. So we're profit and power fodder, really. And we're just pawns being pushed around a chessboard all the time. And certainly, without, if we didn't exist, there'd be no profit to be made. And they say that we have, they're doing it for us. They're doing it to make our lives better and all this kind of stuff. But it basically is to make money out of us. That's the only reason that we exist. And I mean, that's a video in itself, really, to prove that statement. And we're also fate fodder. People say that, you're in charge of your own destiny and all this. No, you're not at all. Or if you are, it's only on a temporary basis. Ultimately, the fates, randomness, we are here by chance alone. We are fodder for the process of random chance, basically, and the fates and the movements of the astrological heavens, really, which all come from the demiurge. And this brings me on finally to we are the fodder for the demiurge. If you add up all these, the canon fodder, the psychic fodder, the prophet fodder, and the fate fodder, and you put these and many other types of fodder together, which we are fodder for the demiurge. We are here for the sadistic, depraved pleasure of the demiurge, watching us all try our hardest to make our lives better and failing, basically. And even when we are succeeding, we don't succeed for very long. And this is all good for the demiurge. The demiurge is delighted by our struggle, because the more we struggle, you see, the more the noose tightens around our necks, which is fodder for the demiurge, you see. If we went on strike and we didn't have any children, and we didn't bother to live at all, and we didn't buy anything, we didn't buy into anything, then the demiurge would have absolutely no power at all over us, which is why, this video, for example, is a danger to the demiurge and his minions, right? And I mean, no one's going to watch this video, obviously. But if this video becomes part of a wave of videos all saying the same thing, then that is a threat. Threat to profit fodder, of course. People making profit don't like videos like this. People sucking energy out of you don't like it either. The army doesn't like it, and the fates don't like it either. So it's all a bit depressing, really. And you might say, oh my God, what a depressing view of everything. However, therein, people say, what about positivity? What about positivity, positive thinking and all this? Funny you should mention that, because although it is temporary and illusory, and usually based on usually pleasure is based on getting something from somebody else, and it's always at someone else's expense, this positivity that you talk about, therein lies the demiurge's great mistake. It's a mistake, it's an illusion. I mean, obviously, all the things that I've listed here, all the goodies that I've listed here, they are illusory. But they also represent a terrible mistake on the part of the demiurge. You see, if you woke up one day and decided and suddenly thought about how much you are fodder for the demiurge, you probably commit suicide. So the demiurge doesn't want you to do that, because it wants your food. It wants you alive so it can feed off you. It likes its food live, right? I mean, it doesn't have to. It can feed off putrefying flesh, but it doesn't go so far. It's like the average person, are 75 years, whereas the body putrefies in 6 weeks. Obviously it's better to have someone alive. So to sugarcoat existence whilst they're being fed on, the demiurge has to create happiness and joy and pleasure. It has to actually take these things from the supernal and ineffable worlds, in fact. This is the sugarcoating on the pill of existence, on the bitter pill, is all the stuff which actually goes on all the time in the ineffable worlds, you see. Or does it? And we'll come on to that at the end. So, these little bits of pleasure that are given to us by the demiurge are there to keep our noses to the grindstone. Okay. But then I woke up this morning, I had this amazing thought. I thought, what if that is the mistake? What if The experience, however transitory, however fleeting, the experience of happiness and contentment and love of life is, and however conditional this love is, it is in fact a reflection in microcosm of the state of existence that awaits us after we have been liberated from the realm of the demiurge. And basically, it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. There's no need to go on a hero's journey. There's no need to join some initiatory order. There's no need to do mantras and magic and rituals and path workings and tarot readings and contemplations on positive thinking. And, there's no need for any of it because, in fact, it is illusory. The word is, the key is in the word illusory, in illusion. Because, in fact, actually, once we wake up from death, this will be a nightmare. This will fade into the background. This is nothing. This existence, which we call positive existence, is in fact totally illusory. And when we wake up, which is what we're going to do when we die, we actually are going to just leave this hellish place and never come back to it. We don't actually have to do anything at all. Now, presumably, well, I suppose the focus on all these goody things, on the nice things, is just a preparation for what's inevitable. So in actual fact, we just have to survive. We just have to get through each day. We just have to live each day as if it's our last, because it could be, thank goodness. And we don't have to join in the game at all. We can just we don't have to get involved in the drama. We can just do very, very little just to survive, because that's all we have to do. We just have to survive without going totally insane, by the way, and without committing suicide, I suppose, really. We just have to survive our allotted time on this earth, and then it'll all be over. Now, of course, you could look at this from an existential, humanist way, because you could say, well, there's nothing after death. There is no God, there is no metaphysics, there is just peace. Rest in peace, R.I.P., right? And the people that we are burying currently today and sending them off to the crematorium, they're the lucky ones. They have peace. They are outside the illusory pleasures of life, the illusory happiness and the pursuit of it, and they're also outside all the suffering. They're no longer fodder. They're no longer fodder for the demiurge. So it could be that maybe there isn't even a demiurge. You could cross the demiurge out of this equation, if you like. You just go a big pen and just go, just cross out the demiurge, and you've still got fate fodder, canon fodder, prophet fodder, and psychic fodder, which we all are. And when we die, that's it. That there's no problem. There's literally no problem anymore. So, I mean, some people realise, and some people have got the courage to take their own life, I suppose. And I know a couple of philosophers who did. There's a couple of very, very interesting philosophers that did commit suicide. I've forgotten their names now, husband and wife. Because they woke up and they could just see it. They could see the meaninglessness and pointlessness of life. But basically, I am of the opinion, believing in God and the metaphysics, that all this is a mistake. Okay, this is all an error. This isn't a test. This isn't a journey. This isn't this isn't some kind of way of banging on the steel to make the steel harder. We're not in some sort of anvil. We're not swords being made harder and more and sharper. None of that. It really, really is a mistake. And when we die, all this suffering will be over, and we are all going to just enter into the kingdom of God, all of us. But if you want to experience the kingdom of God before you actually get there, because we're all going to get there, if you become too depressed, you can go into yourself, go into your introspection, you can go into your meditation and experience fleetingly, all the things that will be forever in the eternal world. So, basically the demiurge is a failure. He's a loser. He is a mistake. He is an error. He has come into existence and he is making us all suffer for absolutely no reason at all. It's all a mistake. But it's a mistake that death will rectify. So just live out your life and be ordinary. And don't think this is a journey. Don't think this is a test. Don't ask the question why do bad things happen to good people. It's a stupid question. All this is literally a mistake. If you want to take your own life, take it. But I think that I haven't got the courage to do that. So I've just got to go through life as best I can. Maybe not harming, not causing more suffering, I suppose, which suicide could be that. I mean, suicide, you could actually do more harm than good. You could harm your loved ones. You could harm people economically, for example, if you take your own life. So basically, taking your own life could be doing harm to people, which is another thing. Suicide has a moral implication. It has a moral dimension which you should contemplate and consider very deeply. You can only really take your own life if you're really not going to harm anybody else by doing so. But if there is a slightest problem, slightest possibility that you could harm somebody else by taking your own life, you should not do it. But otherwise, wait for death. Death is going to be the great liberation. That's the secret of Gnosis, and you can go into your introspection, you can go into yourself and find out the truth of that. Because you can see the light, the ineffable light within all matter. And that's what's awaiting you after death. So all you have to do is bear this life as best you can. And perhaps don't feed on people. I mean, don't try and emulate the demiurge by making other people into fodder around you. It's bad enough that you are fodder for other people. I suppose you should say to people, don't make other people fodder around you, and they'll either listen to you or not listen to you. There's nothing you can do about that. But at least you can live a life where you're not feeding off other people psychically or in terms of profit, or in terms of actually sending people out to die for you. And that's all you can do. So that's kind of my little revelation. When I woke up this morning, having been pretty suicidal last night, and I thought, that's the best I can come up with. I mean, in terms of contemplation, that's the only thing I can come up with. That's the most comforting thing that I can possibly think today, and I think possibly for tomorrow as well, because plus don't expect anything more. I mean, can you expect anything more from this world as it's presently constituted? But there is another world beyond this world. And in God we trust, and in God we know that God is our only hope and salvation.